So complaining is like someone having a glass of water and they drink their water. Is this tap? It's like it's water. Drink the water. What's wrong with you?
Hello, welcome back. All right, so today we're going to talk about complaining, and today is a special episode because my husband Ray is going to come on, Ray Grand, and he's going to give his perspective into complaining, and he's going to talk about me and what he's seen in me when I would complain, and he's going to give his insight in that area. But before Ray comes on, I want to talk to you guys about complaining. So I consider myself a pretty positive person. I can see the best in people, the best in life, the best in circumstances, and I like to focus more on the positive side of life instead of the negative. So I consider myself pretty positive, and most people who know me would consider that I'm pretty positive. So recently in my life, God has been showing me some areas where I have been grumbling and complaining, and it may not look like your typical complaining, but my complaining was more of serving without being glad, or serving without cheerfulness, and God loves a cheerful giver. When we give our time, when we give our service, He loves a cheerful giver. So whether it be I'm serving my husband or serving my children or serving my household or a job, there were certain times when I wasn't serving cheerfully, and so that can turn into grumbling and complaining. And so He's had me in the book of Numbers, reading the book of Numbers of the Israelites' journey from when they got freed from slavery in Egypt. And so He had Moses, he had Moses come in and be a leader to free the slaves from Egypt. And so on their journey, God shows up. He shows them that He's there with them. He sends a cloud by day to lead them and a pillar of fire by night to guide them on their journey, to show them, look, I'm with you. Do not have fear. I will not leave or forsake you. And you know, the Israelites are happy. They're just like, wow, we're free. God has given us this. He's going to give us this promised land. We're on our way to our promised land. And so on their journey, they come across some things they don't necessarily expect to encounter. And through these different things that they're encountering, they find themselves complaining. They're actually complaining about certain things along their journey. And in life, there will be times where there are things that that happen that we don't expect, and a lot of times those unmet expectations in life can cause us to complain. And so when we're looking at their journey, back to the Israelite story, when they get to the Red Sea, it's this huge sea. They don't see a way to cross. There's no bridge. There's no way to cross. Some of the people, the Israelites, start complaining. They're like, oh man, why did we come? We should have stayed in Egypt. We're going to die out here. Moses, why did you lead us out here? They immediately start complaining. They forget that God was with them, leading them the whole time. And so, you know, God gives instructions on what to do to make the Red Sea part. Moses does it, and then God sends the wind, and the Red Sea just parts. It splits, and then the Israelites are able to walk on dry land. That's God's glory right there. They're able to walk on dry land and cross the other side. And then when they get to the other side, the seas come back, and they're safe, and they're able to continue on their journey. And at that point, they're like praising God again at that point. They're like, wow, God. It's almost like they had to see it to believe that God would show up. They're like, wow, God. They're praising Him again. But there's other things that they start to encounter on their journey where they needed water. They're complaining about not having water, you know, and God shows up and He gives them water. They're complaining about not having food. God shows up and He sends them quail to eat for meat, and then manna in the morning to eat as well. And He's providing for all of their needs. However, they're complaining about these things along the way. And so, but God shows up. He shows up and He provides for them. And, you know, eventually with the manna, they're like, oh, we're tired of this manna. Yeah, we prayed for it, but we're tired of it now. And so, you know, you ask yourself, what are some things that you've prayed for in life that were a blessing? When you prayed for it and you received it, it was a blessing, but now you may be complaining about that thing. Is it a spouse? Is it a job? Is it your children? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it business? Is it ministry? What are some things that you really wanted and you got it, and God granted you that thing that you prayed for and that you wanted, the desires of your heart, and now you're finding yourself complaining about it. Okay? In Philippians 2:14, it says, do all things without complaining or grumbling. When we complain, we're speaking against God and the blessings that He's given us. When we complain, we're showing doubt. When we complain, we're showing that we don't have faith that God is going to show up. When we complain, it's speaking negative over our circumstances, over our life. When we complain, it causes us to miss out on blessings that God has for us. So if we go back to the Israelite story, so they're on their journey. God provided for them even through the complaining. He had mercy on them. And so they're at the edge of their promise. They're right there at the promised land. And they're right there, ready to get to this land of milk and honey, fruitfulness, all of this great things that God has promised them. And so Moses sends in 12 spies to go spy out the land, check it out, make sure it's good. 10 of the spies come back with bad reports. They're like, yeah, the land is flowing with milk and honey. However, there's these big giants and there's no way we're going to defeat them. We should turn back now. Yeah, we're doomed. And then 2 of the spies were like, nah, God's been with us. We got this. Let's go in. Let's do this thing. God said we can do it. And what happened is, unfortunately, the bad news spread quickly. Just like we know, bad news spreads fast. The bad news of the giants and all of these things and spread quickly throughout the camp. And then people started to believe like, oh no, we can't do it. There's no hope. So people were starting to complain about they weren't able to get into this promised land that God had promised them. He told them that they could have it. It was theirs. So what happened, unfortunately, is that God had mercy on their life. He didn't necessarily wipe them all out. He wanted to, but Moses went on their behalf and said, you know what, have mercy on them. Don't wipe them out, God. Just have mercy. So God had mercy. However, the whole Israelite camp had to go back to the wilderness and spend 40 years there. So they were at the edge of their breakthrough, the edge of their promise, but because of what was coming out of their mouth, they were not able to get their promise right then. They had to go back and spend 40 years in the wilderness. And the ones who were complaining never saw the promised land because they died in that 40 years. They were not able to see the promised land. The ones who were faithful and ready to go, like Joshua, Caleb, they actually were able to go into the promised land along with some other Israelites who were faithful as well. So just remember, like, when you speak, watch your tongue, watch what you're saying. Remember the good things that God has blessed you with, the things that you prayed for. Remember, those are blessings in your life. Even if things are not going as you expected, even if that marriage is not going as you expected, even if that job is not going as you expected, even if those children are not acting as if you expected, remember that they are blessings in your life, and it's an honor to have these things, to have these people in your life. So watch your tongue, watch what you have to say, because you don't want to miss out on the more blessings that God has for you. You don't want to speak against God. You want to show by your words that you have faith in God. And complaining shows doubt and lack of faith. And without faith, it's impossible to please Him. So I just want to encourage you guys today that you can do this. It's just building good habits with our mouth and being grateful for the things that God has for us. And whenever you feel yourself, there's one area of your life you feel like you're complaining, write down that one complaint, and for every one complaint, write down 5 positive things about that situation. So whether it be, you may find a complaint about your job, write down 5 things about that thing. Thank God I'm in my health to be able to go work this job. Thank God that this job provides money to pay bills. Just write down 5 things for every one complaint, and you're going to find yourself increasing and having an attitude of gratitude. And you're going to find yourself more doors opening for God to bless you. All right, so now we're going to bring my husband Ray Grant on, and we're going to get his perspective. All right, so here's my husband Ray Grant. Welcome. Hello. Ray, thanks for joining us today on this show.
My pleasure.
Cool. So we've been talking about complaining, and I've told them some areas of my life where God showed me that I've been complaining. And so I wanted to bring another perspective besides my own so that you could just tell them what you've seen. So like when we were courting, what are some areas, that you would see where I would complain?
Well, I didn't really see it at first. I think I noticed that you were a single mom and you had a lot on your plate.
Okay.
So I was very empathetic, especially with my situation. I know things can be challenging. However, I seen you truck through it, fight through it. I saw a lot of tenacity.
Okay.
So I did not notice it as complaining. However, as time went on, I was like, okay, what is wrong here? It's a complaining.
What did it look like?
I gotta cook dinner. I go to the grocery store. I gotta wake up early. I gotta spend time with spend time with God tomorrow. And it was just like, wow, what is wrong with you? And I had empathy because it felt like you were hurt in some way, physically.
Really?
Because of the
because of the noise, the
grunt. So I was like, man, what's wrong? Like, how can I help her?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how did that make you feel? You wanted to help me, but the energy that I was putting out, how do you think that affected the whole household?
Well, we talk about when we were courting.
Well, courting and through marriage, like that whole journey of. So now we're in marriage.
Yeah.
So now we're in marriage. We're in the same roof.
Mm-hmm.
How would you see that me complaining or the energy that I was putting out? How did you notice it affected you, the children, or the entire household?
Yeah, it affected me. Like, oh wow, I'm a real feeler. It affected me. I don't know how exactly it affected me, but because I would have my guard up. I would protect myself.
What you had to protect yourself from?
From that energy.
Okay.
So I'll just be like, oh, okay. Okay, baby. Yeah.
What do you think the children like?
Oh no, we would sometimes look at each other like.
You and the children?
Yeah, like, what's wrong with her?
So you would say it did impact the household, the atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Even with your guard up, it's still kind of, because we're one, so it's like a tug of war almost.
But I wouldn't say it was that bad. However, when it was there, I felt it deeply, because not only did I feel it, you were very vocal with your face, your body language, your noises, and just, I gotta go to bed. I'm tired.
Okay, cool. Would you say that I have gotten better? Am I still?
No, I haven't seen it. It's been a good little bit.
Okay.
One thing about, I think, the both of us, once we find something where we have an area of improvement, we notice it. We talk about the root. We pull out the root and we pray on it, and then we move and we act on it. It may slip here and may have some remnants of it, but overall, it's a drastic change, if not 360, I believe. I haven't heard that for months.
Okay.
At least 30 to 60 days.
Okay, that's good. Okay. So, some people say that they're venting. Would you say venting and complaining are the same thing? Are they different?
I would say they're two different. I think venting is expressing a feeling, expressing an emotion.
Okay.
Like when Jesus was mad, he had like a righteous anger, and he was just like, yeah, I don't sell this. And I think we all have emotion. God gave us emotions for a reason to express. If you're mad, you're mad. You're sad, you're sad. And you express that emotion in a healthy way where the person can receive it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. So when do you think venting could turn into complaining? When does it start sounding like complaining?
Complaining is like, everybody complains differently.
Okay.
Some people complain straight on, like, this person's complaining. It's just easy to spot on. Other people complain, here's a glass of water. This tap.
Hey, but to their defense, they're just asking you a question. Is it tap?
That's true. But
Okay.
no, it's tap. But let me give you some sprinkled water. This needs some ice. I don't drink my water this warm. Ice.
Okay.
So it's just someone could be very particular and not realize that they're complaining, and particular about so many different things. Like, no,
Yeah.
I don't drink that water. Period.
But just being thankful. Hey, you have water.
You have water.
Yeah.
So someone may think that is not complaining. However, in my personal opinion,
Okay.
I think that's complaining.
Okay, cool. So I was telling them earlier that a lot of times people can complain because of unmet expectations in life.
Exactly.
There may be some things along in life where it's like things didn't go as we expected, and then boom, this opens an opportunity for people to complain.
Absolutely.
And so I would say, like in marriage, I may have had, a few unmet expectations, and I would find myself complaining. So back to what you were saying about cooking, right? You would say, oh, I gotta cook, I gotta grocery shop, right?
Yeah.
I would say that cooking was one unmet expectation that I had, because I always thought, okay, God's gonna bring me this amazing cook as a husband. He's gonna be a chef, he's gonna cook, he's gonna this, he's that. And in courting, I would notice, like, you would cook up them potatoes and that chicken, and I'm like, okay, babe's working on it. I know, he's at this starting level of cooking, but he's starting to cook. It's like, okay, so when we get married, yes, he's about to do this thing. He's about to help me out in this kitchen. And then I would start to notice, I'm like, so babe, you wanna start the popcorn? He's like, oh, I'll just wait until you can do the popcorn. Babe, you wanna put the pizza in the oven? No, it's better. I'll wait for you to do it, love.
Well,
so I would say, like, that was one unmet expectation in my life. However, what God showed me is that it is an honor to cook for my family. It is an honor to provide that service for my family. It's an honor to do that for you, whether it's me doing it all by myself and I'm the only one doing it. But I had that expectation, like, I know Ray didn't cook as much when he was a bachelor, and now we're married and he's not doing any cooking whatsoever now. However, it's an honor that I have the ability and the hands and the this and to be able to cook for my husband and provide for my family. So now that area of my life, I'm like, you know what? I see the gratitude. I have the gratitude in that area.
Well, first off,
What?
we have to have a perspective of, my feet has been sleeping.
Sleepy feet?
I've been sleeping feet.
Okay.
So when I was cooking as a bachelor, that took a lot of energy, and I made it clear that is not my strength, and I would love for my wife to cook.
What? I don't remember that conversation. You made that very clear that you would not be cooking whatsoever in marriage.
No, I didn't make that clear,
Okay.
but I made it clear that it was work. It was not my expertise. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best.
I got it.
I'm doing my best.
Aw.
Even going to the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, oh, you need help. You need help. You buy a lot of stuff you don't need. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was an area of like, this is not my expertise.
Okay.
I'm doing the best that I can.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
out of my comfort zone.
Gotcha.
However, it took me a lot of time as well. If I would cook, I would make that meal last for 2 days instead of 2 days and a half, because
It took so much out of
it
you.
took so much out of me, and it just took a lot of work.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad we're talking about this now.
Yeah,
It's good to revisit certain
yes,
topics.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. So what else would you say why people may complain? Like, one thing I said, there's many reasons, but I said unmet expectations. What's one reason where you see that some people might start complaining about something?
Just like I said, sometimes some people can be so privileged that they don't even understand what they have is a true blessing, just like living in America, being American citizens. Wow, we're getting a little dark. That's fine. So someone who can be privileged and doesn't recognize how privileged they are, like living in the United States. You're a U.S. citizen. You know how many people would love to be in this country?
Yeah, that's true.
And get their citizenship and have that passport?
Yeah.
So many people. So I think the privilege and also understanding that identity, because sometimes people are so privileged they don't even know who they are because they just have.
Yeah.
They think what they have is who they are and what they are.
Okay.
And who you are plays a role in complaining and also knowing your purpose. And when you know your purpose, you are able to live a fulfilled life, and the things that are added to your life are bonuses. Like my wife is a bonus, my family is a bonus, everything that I have is a bonus.
Yeah.
Like when we was courting, I was living in my purpose. I'm still living in my purpose. And now everything is added, and we're doing purpose together.
Yeah.
And then we're growing in our identity as well.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing, yeah.
Yeah. So you would say when people may not know their identity or be out of their purpose or their will, the will of God on their life, they could find themselves grumbling, complaining because they're not maybe at the center of the will, God's will for their life.
And most people will grumble and complain, don't even recognize it.
Yeah, there are times I didn't recognize
they're
it.
so out of pocket in God's will and so unaware of what they're going on because their mind is just focused on whatever they want, not what they need per se.
Okay, that's good. So what advice do you think that we can give people to start building better habits? So we talked about unmet expectations, and earlier I told them, for every one complaint, write down 5 great things about that area.
Yeah.
And then based on what you said about finding purpose and identity, what's something that we can guide them to help them get closer in their purpose and their identity and the will of God? What do you think we can tell them?
I think number 1, accountability partner.
Okay.
And then Melanie could be your accountability partner. Subscribe. Also, I would say, as you just said, write things down.
Mm-hmm.
Write them down and then track your targets in increments and pick one thing at a time and then work your way through and then add something else once you see yourself starting to do well in that particular area.
Okay. And as far as finding their identity, like finding someone finding their purpose, where do they start?
Start with something that they're really great at.
Okay.
And what have people said to them that they're really good at? Like, oh man, you're a great encourager.
Okay.
Man, you're a great communicator.
Okay.
Man, you are really great with video. Man, you're really great with photography. What do people say that you do very, very well? And then also, as well, go into prayer and ask the number one Almighty and ask Him to show you. And then He may just, boom, pop up an opportunity for you, paid. That happened to me. And I asked Him, and the next thing you know, hey, we want you to speak. Are you available? I'll send you the contract. Like, oh, okay.
That's good.
I'm ready.
That's good. Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to have you back one day again. And so Ray has his own channel, Ray Grand.
Yes.
Just go on YouTube, search for Ray Grand, and then subscribe, like, and we'll see you guys next time. Tell us, what would you see in me, whether we were courting or whether we first got married, what would you see in me that started to turn into grumbling and complaining?
Yeah, at first I didn't really think you were a complainer.
Okay.
Maybe it was just I overlooked it, so I didn't really see you as complaining. You're complaining, like you said, I think it was grumbling. You just be like, At first I'm like, I thought it was kind of funny, but then after a while I'll be like, yo, what is wrong with you? like, what's wrong with you?
Really?
Literally.
What in particular would you notice me complaining about the most? Was there a pattern?
Mostly tasks, things that you have to do.
Okay.
I haven't gone to the grocery store. I need to go to the grocery store. It's 6 o'clock. I have to go to the grocery store. I gotta cook dinner by this time, and I gotta go to bed. I gotta wake up. I gotta go spend time with God. And it's like, okay, who wants to be rushed to go spend time with God? If someone wants to spend time with me, I don't. It's like, what's wrong with you?